Oh, alright YouTubers, right, welcome back. I'm going to do another video about my monthly maintenance, so everything that I do once a month. So that's going to be pretty much just a water change, and then just make sure that a few other things are topped up. And I'm going to show you how I dose magnesium, and I'm going to go through everything else that I dose into this tank. First of all, I want to say a really big thank you to Nathan Willard and his son, who gave me a shout out and a link on their channel, so that's really nice of you, thank you so much. So yeah, I want to show you how I mix up my water, what salt I use, and let's get started. Alright, this is my water mixing station. I've got RO water coming in from upstairs, filling into this bucket here. I like to make sure that it's 0 TDS, so pop that in there and read 0. That's what we want to get nice, good quality water to begin with. Now, loads of people ask me what salt I use. I actually use Red Sea. I don't actually use the Coral Pro salt. I actually use the refillable bags of the normal blue bucket salt, and I go for the SPS dominant, which is calcium at 430, magnesium at 1280, and KH at 8. And I always go for these parameters inside my tank because I know that this salt mixes up to those parameters, and therefore every time I do a water change, then I know that everything should match. Because if I was aiming for, say, 10 DKH, I know that I would have to buffer this to make it 10 DKH. So I'd rather keep to exactly what it says on the bucket. Okay, so I have my little purple cup here, and I'm 6 of these to 60 litres of freshly made RO water. Okay, so now I have a small power head, and this is amazing because it has another attachment, so you can actually use it as like a vacuum cleaner for the sump. So I just pop this in there, and that's going to be used to mix it up. And what I find really handy is I have a remote control on-off switch here, so that I'm not going to put wet hands on anything if I need to. I can just click it to on, and then this is now on, and it's going to mix up. There we go. It's going to mix up all that salt. So I'm going to give that a couple of hours until it's all nice and clear. I put the lid back on, and that tends to hold the temperature at about 24. There we go. So I thought while that's mixing up, I might just take a little look at the tank. It is looking really nice at the moment. Okay, as you can see, I did end up adding a heater, just so that it mixes up a bit quicker. And you can see it's all like nice and clear now, so I'm just going to check the specific gravity and make sure we're all good to go. So now we can check the specific gravity, and not that I can make this work. Oh, there we go. You can see it's 35 parts per thousand. Okay, so now I've attached my hose to my pump, and I've got a nice long bit of hose, which means I can come all the way to the tank to fill it up. Now, I'm going to do something which most people will think is quite odd, is that I'm going to put in my freshly mixed salt water before I actually take out my old tank water. And the reason I do this is because I'm not doing a water change to reduce NO3 or PO4. My levels are really low, they're pretty undetectable. So I do water changes as best practice every month, and I find this a much easier way to do it because I don't have to turn off any of the pumps. So I'll add 60 litres of water, freshly mixed up, to my sump down here, and I will give it an hour or so to all get mixed into the tank. And then with a second pump, what I'll do is, firstly I'll siphon out the same amount that I've put in, just so that my auto top up, I don't have to move that or anything. And then I just pump it back outside. So now with my trusty remote control, I can just click it on and I can fill up my tank. Okay, and as you can see, we're just coming to the last little bit that I need to go in there now. The sump's not even full. You can see where it was from the calcification, and so it just fills it up this much more. So now I can turn that off. There we go. So now this has all been mixing up for about an hour. I'm just going to remove with my trusty siphon the same amount that I put in. Just pop the siphon in, give it a couple of little goes, and then I can fill this up. I know this is the same amount of water that I put in, so I can just wait for this to fill up. Alright, now that's all done. Someone else is trying to help me. And once I've done my water change, I just test the magnesium levels in the tank, and if they're lower than what I want them to be, I add 100 grams of magnesium chloride salt, and I just slowly drip it into the tank. So I take one of these, pop it in there, you mix it with some RO water. They say to mix it with 200 mils for every 100. But I like to mix quite a bit more so that it's quite dilute, because I like to drip it into the top of the tank. I'll give it a little bit of a stir, and then wait for it to completely dissolve. So once that's completely dissolved in there, and then I just set it to a really slow drip that will just take a good couple of hours just to drip the rest of that back into the tank, so it's really nice and slow. And also, while that's mixing up, I'm going to go through everything that I dose. So this is my calcium reactor. It's one of the larger ones that you can get. I use extra coarse media. I think it takes about 3 of those buckets to fill this reactor up. And for most part, I just let it do its thing, other than sort of every 3 months changing the CO2 bottle out. I might even get a bigger CO2 bottle. And then that is dosed by the Knorr FXSTP. And where are we? There you go. I'm dosing 65 mils a minute. And that 65 mils re-enters my tank. Just here, sort of a constant flow, well, a constant sort of drippy flow anyway. And I also hand dose 2 mils of Red Seas trace colours A, B, C and D. I do that every day when I'm feeding my tank in the evening. And I also add 1 capful of Acro Power. Okay, so let's had a little tidy up, got rid of the old water, and yeah, everything's looking super happy after having some fresh new water. Like I say, I pretty much do it just because I think it's good to keep a good routine. So every month I change the 60 litres, which to be honest probably doesn't make much difference in sort of percentages. So I mean, if I was trying to get nutrients down, if I had a, you know, high phosphate or high NO3, then yeah, I mean, a 60 litre water change on this tank isn't probably going to do much. But I think if I make sure that I do it I think the routine, that's what's good for this tank. And I think it shows. Everything's really looking nice still. So I think it really appreciates all the sort of the micro vitamins or minerals that you get from adding fresh salt water that I don't think, you know, you can dose in the right ratios, or I can't. Everything's glowing nicely. It's getting to the evening now, so everything's, well, the blue lights have started to come on, so everything's really popping. Right guys, so that's my monthly maintenance video on this 1000 litre aquarium. I'm sure a few of you are going to find it a little bit odd that I put the new water in before I take out the old water. So if you've got any opinions on that, please comment in the comment section below. And remember to like, share and subscribe, and yeah, stay tuned for some more content.